understanding of how they're going to do the communication piece. My financial advisor just calls me whenever there's something she feels that needs to be changed or moved, or there's an opportunity.
Especially if in the marketplace, if things are changing dynamically,
right,
you want to make sure they're on top of this stuff. Because again, it's your money.
It's your money.
It's your livelihood.
You want to make sure that you're getting proactive calls from people, telling you, hey, I think there's a better instrument or better way to invest proactively versus you having to go after them.
Yeah, and I have to say, for me, since I never had one, I'm really happy with making that choice.
Now, some other financial items that you may have to deal with is a pension.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky like me, where I worked over a century at the company, I actually qualified for a pension and had a pension. Just make sure you know whether you have one or not. That was a big surprise to me. I had no idea.
Yeah, and what are the other things you need to think about?
Right, and so you have to know the rules. You have to know, when you're going to be able to withdraw from that money, what's going to happen to that money while you're waiting for it. And then you should also make sure that it's part of the way that you look at your retirement plans and your budgeting for your retirement plans, that you don't forget about it. So that would be the last things that we want to talk about with regard to the financial pieces before we move on and talk about filing for unemployment.
Yes, and filing for unemployment, for the two of us, it was the first time in over 30 years that we actually were unemployed, and we had no clue about what to do with unemployment, right? How to do it. We also felt incredibly guilty about whether we should, actually even, look to apply for unemployment.
Yes.
But you know what? We realized we both did work for many, many years. We've always contributed, and we're entitled to it. And especially if you are in a financial bind and you really need that money. You need to rely on that to help make your monthly expenses.
Right, but the one thing that we found out is it's not like a switch gets turned on with regard to unemployment. So you need to understand that as part of how it fits into your budgetary process, because the check's not going to just show up at your house. So what we found is it's a multi-tier process that you have to go through. It's painstaking too. So number one is first of all states are different. So you really need to know what's your state's procedure and process. Even though you may live in one state and work in another, it's wherever your paycheck is issued is where you go for unemployment. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep. And one of the other things we realized is, we wanted to ask somebody a couple questions, so we went and tried to make some calls to unemployment, and it was
a fiasco.
Yeah, it was a challenge. We never got through. They kept referring us back to the website, which I get, but once you get to the website, it's a long, long process.
It's a long process. So just go onto the site, print out the pages, read them through carefully, make sure you have all the documents and information before you attempt to do anything on the site.
And once you register, that's great. That's kind of easy sneezy. But once you get to really, trying to put in your first application, it takes 2 to 3 to 4 hours. You can't go back, and I'll tell you, you have to be prepared. You have to make sure you've got your tea, your water, your breakfast, your lunch. You need your
snacks. Don't forget those snacks.
Everything's important because you know what? You start fading. And you can't go back. If you make a mistake, you can't. So you have to be very careful with each page and each question that you answer. I think we finally found some ways to maybe make some edits, but it was really hard to find.
It was difficult to find. But, so just take your time, be prepared, and know that it's going to take a couple of hours to get through that process. And then once you do in the forms, that's only one part. Then you have to go in and actually submit to say, I have not been working.
Right.
And so then you have to wait to make sure that your application was accepted, and then you'll get a check.
Right. And they tell you, we don't even know when the checks are coming.
We don't.
We finally got, we were approved and we know what the amount's going to be, but we have no idea. And then the other thing too, though, is if you decide that you want to do consultancy, then that automatically kicks you out.
It does.
Even if you're just considering it, you're out.
Well, that's for the state that we have. So I'm just going to give that one other detail is that for the state that we were in, they indicated that if you're planning, literally planning to have a business, that immediately knocks you out of unemployment. All right. So you have to be careful about that, because if you really do need it from a budgetary perspective, you really need to be careful not to be starting all those signals of creating a business.
But don't give up. I mean, you're entitled to it. Pursue it. Persevere. You'll live through it. Make sure you have your snacks and your food and your drink to get you through that process. But you're entitled, so make sure you do it.
That's right. So we hope that you found some of this info helpful, and that it's going to make the journey a bit easier.
Yep. So we would love to hear your stories and helpful hints on anything having to do with this episode and our previous episodes.
Right. So you can submit your stories and the feedback and suggestions to our website, www.over50andfired.com, and click on Contact Us.
Yep. And on our next podcast, we'll be talking about the importance of branding.
Thanks for listening. Bye.